Hello and welcome to Oxford Island in autumn. This podcast will guide you around the autumn woodland and loch shore at Oxford Island. Please download the accompanying map which will help you on your walk. This is a circular route which begins at the Lough Neigh Discovery Centre and includes the West Shore Walk. When we think of autumn, we think of fruits, coloured leaves, fungi and mists. Here on the Nature Reserve we have all of these. But autumn, along with spring, is the main migration period, and there's much excitement as some birds arrive while others leave for warmer climates. Migration times can also turn up rarities as individual birds get blown off course or simply lose their way. It's worth taking a look out on the loch. Who knows what'll turn up? On a mild sunny day, you may spot a few butterflies, such as this red admiral, but before long it'll be too cold for them to fly. At point 1, as you enter the woods in autumn, you would first of all notice the smell of the damp leaves. Trees which lose their leaves in autumn are called deciduous, and this is a survival mechanism. All summer, the leaves will have been working hard, carrying out a process known as photosynthesis, where water and carbon dioxide, plus sunlight energy, is transformed into carbohydrates for the tree to grow. This process produces oxygen. As the nights get longer, chemical changes in the leaves mean they change colour and eventually fall off. The tree then rests over the winter. Meanwhile, on the woodland floor, an army of recyclers are waiting to feed on the leaves and break them down to become part of the soil. Peeping through the fallen leaves or growing out of the branches or tree trunks, you should be able to spot fungi of various sorts. Most types of fungi live on dead plant material. Others, like the honey fungus, actually attack living material and can kill trees and shrubs. What you can see is only the fruiting body of the fungus. Most of it is under the ground or within the timber, and it takes the form of loads of mycelium, like little roots. These are absorbing nutrients from the timber or bark. While one honey fungus fruiting body is quite small, the whole organism is of gigantic proportions and may cover several acres. It's thought that a type of honey fungus found in North America is actually the largest living thing on the planet. While many of our native fungi are edible, others are very poisonous, so don't be tempted to try them. As you proceed along the west shore, on your left are thick shrubs growing on the bank which marked the former shoreline of Lough Neigh. Depending on the year, you may see lots of red haws, which are the fruit of the hawthorn, blackberries, the fruit of the bramble, and sloes, the fruit of the blackthorn. Birds and small mammals really depend on these berries for survival, which is why it's important not to cut hedges until February, when they've had a chance to eat up all the fruits and seeds. The amount of berries and fruits will vary greatly from one year to another, and can often depend on the weather conditions when the plant or tree was in flower. As you walked along, you may have noticed the flowers of the ivy. Ivy is a very common plant and sometimes gets a bad name for damaging trees. However, it is vitally important for wildlife, as ivy is one of the very few wild plants that blooms in autumn and produces berries in spring. This is great for insects, as they can stock up on a late supply of nectar, while in spring birds can feast on the berries when other food supplies have all but gone. Ivy is also an evergreen plant, so it provides good shelter from the cold winter winds to come. As you climb up the steps at point 2, there are a couple of old crabapple trees to your left. Crabapple is a fairly rare tree in the wild, and unfortunately, another tree which grew to the right of these steps fell during a storm in 2005. The apples themselves are very sour and bitter, but they can be made into jelly after the first frosts, which tend to sweeten them a little. At the top of the steps, you can carry on and rejoin the road, returning to the Discovery Centre. Look and listen for flocks of migrating birds flying overhead. You may even be lucky enough to hear the honking sounds of hooper swans, just returned from Iceland for the winter.